suspiciously like bacon. A desperate prayer that he'd been dreaming and awoke on a scouting overnight flitted through his mind, but he discarded it. Sitting up and carefully pulling on the zipper, Byron swung his feet out of the tent and strapped on his sandals. A crow heckled him from low in a nearby branch. He wondered how Cole could manage to sleep through all of this racket, but his brother was never a morning person, and who knew how long he'd stayed up? The bacon scent made his mouth water. Byron stood, looked over the tent, and to his great surprise locked eyes with a middle-aged man who hunched over their cook fire. The man's long, dark, unkempt hair was knotted in places. A short beard darkened his chin about an inch long around his square jaw, but his upper lip had been shaved clean. His skin shone brown, either naturally or tanned, Byron couldn't tell. His eyes smiled kindly, and a crow landed on his shoulder, cawing into his ear. The man reached out a dirty hand and patted Harold's head. "What?" Byron said, and his mouth dropped open. Yes, he acknowledged with astonishment, his guard dog, fearsome Harold, lay curled up at the stranger's feet. The stranger cocked an eyebrow and then spoke. "Come," he said, his voice deep, and he patted the earth near him. "Eat. Meat makes fast friends." He stroked Harold's fur again. As Byron crossed the distance between himself and the stranger, he assessed the man's appearance. He was big and broad, 6 feet at least. Though squatting, it was hard to tell. A worn leather shirt clung just a bit too tightly to his chest. He had fringed leather pants and wore high boots. From a braided belt dangled a long knife and a hatchet, and next to him on the ground lay a discarded cloak and a sheathed sword. A nervous whinny sounded behind him, and Byron glanced up to see a piebald horse grazing by the river. Against a nearby tree rested a saddle, a round wooden shield, saddlebags, a quiver of arrows, a rifle, and a large bundle of animal furs. Harold stood as Byron approached, his tail wagging. "Some guard dog you turned out to be," he scolded, thumping the dog's shoulder as he came over. "Meat makes fast friends," the stranger repeated. He smiled and withdrew the pan from the coals, flipping the bacon with a pair of sticks. "My name's Byron. This is Harold," Byron said, gesturing to the dog. "My brother's asleep." "Was asleep," a voice came from inside the tent. "Is it safe, or should I shoot him?" Byron was thrown for a minute. They didn't have a gun, but he quickly puzzled out his brother's ruse. "It seems safe enough," Byron called back. Cole emerged from the tent, his face wary. "Call me Crowmain, as do all the British," the man said, completely unmoved by the threat of being shot. He gestured to the birch tree, upon which sat no fewer than a dozen crows. His accent sounded strange, not British exactly, but British in the same way a native South African or an Indian might speak the language. It had clearly been learned from the Victorians, Byron thought. "Crowmain?" Byron offered. "A strange name." "In the clans," Crowmain replied, "call we each other by child names until earns a man the name he wears. My child name is Alain. My man name is Crickamune, Crowmain in your tongue, because these follow me." He spread his arms to indicate the many crows and ravens perched in the trees around them. The bacon popped in the pan, diverting everyone's attention for a moment. "This wisdom is good," Crowmain continued instructionally, "for if a man is a liar or thief, then may you know him by his name. Come, a man named can at any time, so teaches it honesty, kindness, and courage, lest one be named liar, selfish, or coward." "I guess that makes sense," Cole said, coming closer, crouching down and warming his hands at the fire. "But how do you know who belongs to what family?" "Clan is family," Crowmain shrugged, then he scowled. "Tell me, why look you both like Lothka, but speak you both like British?" "Lothka?" Byron asked. "Lothka, we who are here," he gestured around, "in the land called the British Avalon." "What?" Byron asked. "I didn't follow." "Ah," Crowmain nodded. "Am yet young in speaking the Queen's English, but learning it comes as time does." He thought for a moment. "In this land," he paused, "that the British call Avalon." "You're a native then?" Cole asked. "Born, I am here." Cole looked at Byron. "Their native language must be a VSO language, like Arabic or Celtic." "VSO?" Byron asked. "Verb, subject, object," Cole replied matter-of-factly. "A language in which the verb comes first. You know, fought I the battle or ate I the bacon." "Like you to learn speech in different tongues?" Crowmain asked. "Oh yes," Byron replied, proud of his brother. "He already speaks 3 languages." "Teach then, I shall, you." He put the bacon off the pan and lay it on a clean, damp stone he'd fetched from the river. Reaching out Into his pouch next to him, he drew out 3 eggs and handed one to each boy, keeping one for himself. He began peeling it, tossing the shells into the fire. As he followed suit, Cole asked, "What's your clan called, Crowmain?" "Am clanless," Crowmain replied. "Gave up my clan when became I champion of the Illenthane." "Illenthane?" Byron asked, between bites of his hard-boiled egg. "Yes," Crowmain replied. "A wise teacher, a..." He paused, searching for a word. "Sage from the mountaintop. Illenthane is clanless, so may she aid the clans without favor, equally." He handed each boy 2 strips of bacon. "Eat." "Champion," Byron cut in. "Does that mean you're a warrior?" "How many clans are there?" Cole asked at almost the same time. "Am warrior," Crowmain replied, touching his breastbone. "And 1 clan is named for each god. Now I ask questions. Answer clearly." He wiped his mouth on his sleeve. "Are you not British?" "No," they answered in unison. "We're American," Cole added. "Come you from the British world?" "It's not a British world anymore," Byron said. "No?" "The United Kingdom still exists," Cole added helpfully, "but the British Empire has fallen." "Came you through a mirror?" "Yes," Cole replied. "I built it." "You?" "He's pretty smart," Byron explained. "Where now is your mirror?" "Destroyed. Burned up in a fire." "Careful," Crowmain warned, "lest earn yourself the name liar." "It's the truth," Cole cut in. "A Barghest came through and burned it. We barely escaped alive. And," Byron added, "now we can't get home." "Barghest?" "A fire-breathing dog, black and red fur." "Ah, a Lothiend." He paused, thinking. "Did you kill it?" he asked, intentionally placing his subject and verb. "Yes," Cole answered. "You, too, are warriors and clanless, seems to me," Crowmain chuckled. "So be it." Byron nodded, savoring the crispy meat. It had been so long since he'd tasted something other than fish. He couldn't help a wave of nostalgia for pancake breakfasts. "Your skin," Crowmain poked Byron's arm, "is not British. Are pale like butter. Look you like Lothka." He held out his arm, noting the similarity in skin tone between himself and Byron. "Yeah," Cole explained, "our dad's skin came from England, but our mom's came from Africa, so we're lighter than her, but darker than him." He hesitated, then admitted, "It makes it hard to find a place in America." "Find, you will, a place here," he said simply. A shadow passed, and they looked up to see the Griffin pass overhead, flying southwest. The horse whinnied, nervous. Crowmain stood. "Talking we can do while walking. Gather your things."